A flotilla of boats trying to bring aid to Gaza, saying the boats were approaching an active combat zone. Now, Israel's accusing the flotilla of provocation, saying it warned them to change course. But several countries are condemning Israel's actions. ABC's chief foreign correspondent Ian Pannell has the latest.
Israeli forces intercepting a flotilla of boats bound for Gaza.
This is the Israeli Navy. You are approaching a blockaded zone.
More than 150 activists, including Greta Thunberg, detained. Israel's foreign ministry sharing a video of Thunberg and others saying they were safe and had been escorted to an Israeli port. The global summit flotilla, made up of more than 40 boats, was attempting to bring aid to Gaza and open a humanitarian corridor. It set sail from Spain last month, growing in size as others joined as it made its way through the Mediterranean towards Gaza. The Israeli Navy warning the flotilla to turn back as it entered the high-risk zone.
We are a humanitarian, non-violent solidarity mission. We carry only food, aid, we carry water filters, we carry baby formula.
Organisers sharing this video of what they claim is intimidation by the Israeli military against the flotilla. Israel accusing the flotilla of provocation, asking it to change course because it was entering an active combat zone and to deliver the aid instead to a port in Israel to be taken to Gaza. The group refusing to alter course, and as they were intercepted, protests erupting in several countries and the streets of New York amid growing worldwide anger at Israel's continuing war in Gaza.
Ian Pannell, thank you. Coming up, a double murder suspect is back in custody. How authorities say he was accidentally released from prison. Also, ahead, a deadly hit and run in New Jersey, why a teen is now facing first-degree murder charges, plus what we're learning about his ties to a local police chief.
Latest trend in shopping? You know it's Amazon Lens. Go from camera roll to closet by uploading pics of your favorite looks and shop similar matches to make them all your own. Oh, you want to get specific? Just circle the search. Boom, like that. Whatever is put on your inspo feed, find it on the Amazon shopping app. See it, shop it. Amazon Lens.
At Amazon, we're helping customers make more sustainable choices. Save up to 15% by using Subscribe and Save on your favorites. Shop Amazon for the widest selection of everyday essentials for all your family needs.
Welcome back to ABC News Live. First, a double murder suspect is back in custody after being mistakenly released from a Florida prison. Officials say James Daniels was captured in Reynolds, Georgia after 4 days on the run. Authorities blame his accidental release on a procedural error. Now authorities say they're investigating the error and pursuing charges against anyone who may have helped Daniels during his time on the run. And investigations underway after 2 teenage girls were killed in a New Jersey hit and run. Authorities say the girls were riding an e-bike when they were hit by an SUV. Now a 17-year-old boy is charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder. ABC's Rhiannon Nally has that story.
The urgent murder investigation into the deaths of 2 New Jersey teenage girls. Prosecutors say 17-year-old Maria Neotis and Isabella Salas were struck by a black SUV just before 5:30 Monday night while driving an e-bike down this residential street. The driver allegedly fled the scene but was later apprehended. It was originally reported to be a tragic hit-and-run accident, but 2 days later, authorities arresting a 17-year-old boy, charging him with 2 counts of first-degree murder for the deaths of the best friends.
I think the whole community really joined together and, provided whatever evidence that the police needed.
After news spread, friends of the victims coming forward saying there had been issues between the suspect and at least one of the teen girls. And in an unusual twist, the suspect is a relative of the chief of police of a neighboring town. The chief, who happens to be a neighbor of Salas's, issuing a statement Wednesday night saying, "I do unequivocally condemn the actions of the accused, and like you, I demand that he face the consequences of his alleged actions in a court of law." The victims' mothers attending a vigil for the girls.
They're both very sweet and compassionate people.
As friends and neighbors paid tribute to the lives cut short. That police chief from the neighboring town also said one of the girls was his neighbor, whom he said he watched grow up. He said the whole neighborhood feels violated and that they are grieving with the victims. That teen has been charged as a juvenile, but authorities, Diane, have not ruled out changing that.
All right, Rhiannonelli, thank you. Coming up, remembering renowned conservationist and animal welfare advocate Jane Goodall. Her lasting advice on how to make the world a better place.
The smartest Wi-Fi ever made to make your world come alive. 1 second, they're a neighbor you like. The next, they're a neighbor you trust. 1 second, you're worrying about your home. And then, thanks to ADT, there's a lot less to worry about. Feel secure enough to let others in with Trusted Neighbor from ADT.
What makes a home your dream home? A sunny spot to garden? Lots of natural light. A place for everyone. No matter what kind of home you're looking for, it's waiting for you on Redfin. And when you find it, see it before anyone else. Book a showing right now only on Redfin. Find your dream home on Redfin, powered by Rocket.
Welcome back to ABC News Live. First, Elon Musk is now the first person ever worth $500 billion. His net worth skyrocketed recently thanks in part to Tesla stock. Now he's on track to become the world's first trillionaire by 2033. And tributes are pouring in for conservationist Jane Goodall. The institute she founded says Goodall died of natural causes while in California on a speaking tour. Her research into chimpanzees brought her international fame and gave the world its first real insight into humans' closest relative in the animal world. Now public figures from Leonardo DiCaprio to Hillary Clinton to Jane Fonda are remembering Goodall's contributions to science and animal welfare. Clinton says for over 60 years, Jane Goodall was a force for research about our precious planet and climate change action to protect it while breaking glass ceilings along the way. ABC's Lara Spencer has more on her life and legacy.
The world is celebrating the remarkable and courageous life of renowned conservationist and animal welfare advocate, Dr. Jane Goodall.
Day after day, in the sun and the wind and the rain, I climbed into the hills. This was where I was meant to be.
In 1960, at just 26 years old, Goodall began her lifelong study of chimpanzees, living with them for decades in Tanzania. She would become a pioneer, credited with discovering just how similar chimpanzees are to all of us, as she described in National Geographic documentary, Jane.
The more I learned, The more I realized how like us they were.
Among all of her research, it was the study of their human behaviors that fascinated Goodall most. She studied the bonds between mother and infant, gave them names, not numbers, and proved that primates too can practice compassion and altruism, changing the way we view the animal kingdom. It was a message she would share her entire life.
I got to know them better and better. They became almost like family members.
All in the face of critics who tried to discredit her because Goodall was young and female, addressing those early notions with our John Quinones in 1993.
Fragile and blonde with huge green eyes and a tip-tilted nose, she looks as if she should be pouring tea or watering the roses instead of prowling in the bush.
So,
You surprised them.
I surprised them.
In 2014, she became an ambassador for Disney Nature, speaking with Harold Michael Strahan.
I'm just curious, do you ever miss living among the chimpanzees?
Well, I miss living in the forest. Chimpanzees, people say, your favorite animal. They're not my favorite animal. They're much too human.
Goodall was devoted to spreading a message of peace and understanding to young people. And in 2022, Mattel honored her with her own Barbie doll.
I never ever went out without binoculars. Girls don't want just to be film stars and things like that. But many of them, like me, want to be out in nature studying animals. And so a Barbie doll, who's Jane, is a super idea.
Jane Goodall.
And just this year, Goodall received the Presidential Medal of Freedom from President Joe Biden. And decades into her career, she never stopped delivering her message of peace and compassion. It was her belief that small change creates lasting impact. A message that kept Goodall fulfilled until her passing.
We wouldn't be here without Dr. Goodall.
On the day she died, Goodall was scheduled to speak to a group of thousands of young children impacted by the devastating California wildfires, inspiring them to kick off an initiative to plant 5,000 trees. That event becoming a memorial in her honor. And for those wanting to make an impact of their own, Goodall leaves us with this advice.
If you think globally, you become filled with gloom. But if you take a little piece of this whole picture, my piece, our piece, this is what I can do here. I'm making a difference. And hi, wow, they're making a difference over there, and so are they, and so are they. And so gradually the pieces get filled in, and the world is a better place because of you.
ABC's Lara Spencer, thank you. And National Geographic will screen the feature documentary Jane on Sunday, October 5th at 8 p.m., followed by Jane Goodall, The Hope at 10 p.m. Jane is also currently available to screen on Disney Plus and Hulu. Jane Goodall was 91 years old. I'm Diana Macedo. The news never stops, and neither do we. We have a lot more news right after the break. Stay with us.
In business, secure connectivity is critical. That's why Comcast Business helps turn your business into a reliably up and running, cybersecurity, data protecting, disruption defying, Wi-Fi backup things working. So you can keep thriving modern business. Stay connected and get threat ready with Comcast Business, powering possibilities.
1 second, it's a pipe dream. And the next, it's a dream come true. 1 second, you know it's all protected. And then... Is everything okay? What's happened dispatched? Well, we still do.
With Redfin, you'll know the moment your next place hits the market. Whether you're looking to buy your dream home or rent a sweet pad. Give us your gotta-have-it wish list of features, and you'll receive real-time notifications tailored just for you. Ready to see it up close and personal? Scheduling a tour is just a tap away. Download the Redfin app today.
Oh, you don't know? It
It's Friday, that on my way, that every day, that protein day, Friday, that tasty quick, that working late. Greedy Friday, nothing plain about it.
The latest trend in shopping? Amazon Lens. Go from camera roll to closet for uploading pics of your favorite looks and shop similar matches to make them your own. See it, shop it with Amazon Lens.
Welcome back to ABC News Live. First, you were looking at the White House on this Thursday, and we have a lot of news to get to. President Trump is making an unprecedented pledge to defend Qatar from an armed attack. The security agreement, which is not legally binding, says the U.S. will treat any armed attack on the Arab country as a threat to the peace and security of the United States and respond accordingly. It comes just 3 weeks after Israel launched strikes on Hamas leaders in Qatar. Now the president is taking unilateral action to guarantee the nation's security with U.S. troops if necessary. Our chief White House correspondent Mary Bruce has the latest. Hi, Mary.
This is a remarkable security guarantee tying the U.S. closer to the small but wealthy Arab nation, a move that could include the U.S. coming to Qatar's defense militarily. As President Trump pushes for peace in Gaza, the White House is now giving unprecedented security guarantees to one of the countries negotiating an end to the war.
I want to thank Qatar, its leadership, and the Emir is a fantastic person. I think, I'm going to be his public relations man because I know him differently than a lot of people know him. But he wants peace.
Signing an executive order, Trump says any armed attack on Qatar will be considered a threat to the peace and security of the U.S., and saying the U.S. military might come to Qatar's defense. That in the event of an attack, the U.S. will take all lawful and appropriate measures, including diplomatic, economic, and if necessary, military, to defend interests in the United States and the state of Qatar. Language that appears to give Qatar the same protection NATO allies get from the U.S., though the impact is unclear because Congress has not weighed in. It comes after Israel earlier this week expressed deep regret for striking targets inside Qatar, targeting Hamas leadership during hostage negotiations. The attack seen on these videos circulating online. And it comes months after Iran fired missiles at an American military base inside Qatar. This new executive order shining a spotlight on the close relationship between the president, his family's businesses, and the Qatari royal family. Last spring, Trump visited Qatar on a trip through the Middle East. That visit raising eyebrows as the president was preparing to accept a massive 7478 jumbo jet, so opulently designed it's known as a flying palace.
I think it's a great gesture from Qatar. I appreciate it very much.
The Qatari royal family gifting the Pentagon the luxurious $400 million plane to be retrofitted to serve as Air Force One for the remainder of Trump's presidency. A process that would likely carry a hefty price tag.
I would never be one to turn down that kind of an offer. I mean, I could be the stupid person and say, no, we don't want a free, very expensive airplane.
The plane would then be donated to Trump's presidential library just before he leaves office. But the deal is unlike any other, which has drawn serious questions about its legality. The president's family also does business with Qatar and announced a new luxury golf resort north of Doha, a project which costs billions and has drawn ire from ethics watchdogs. Now, critically, these new security guarantees signed by the president are not legally binding. Trump is acting unilaterally here, and that, of course, is a key difference from NATO guarantees. But it does mean that the president, acting without congressional approval, is now promising something as serious as potential U.S. military engagement. Diane.
Mary Bruce, thank you. And the White House is threatening mass layoffs as we enter day 2 of the government shutdown. Vice President J.D. Vance says they may have to take extraordinary steps the longer this goes on. Now, a Republican senator says the idea for laying off, quote, left-wing bureaucrats who are imposing left-wing priorities is, quote, fantastic. ABC's Nicole D'Antonio has the details.
With no end in sight to the government shutdown, the Trump administration is warning it could begin firing federal workers as soon as today. Senator Ted Cruz welcomes the idea of using the shutdown to downsize the federal bureaucracy.
President Trump is going to use that as an opportunity not to tell people you're furloughed for a few days, but instead to send pink slips and to get rid of left-wing bureaucrats who are imposing left-wing priorities that are contrary to President Trump's priorities. I think that is fantastic, and what it's going to do is it's going to cause Democrats in Congress to scream and weep and gnash their teeth.
The shutdown could leave more than 750,000 federal employees furloughed and more than 2 million military service members without a paycheck. Heather Campbell, a military wife and mother of 3, says many families could struggle to put food on the table.
All of that together creates a really difficult economic pattern for military families, and it's one where we see 24 to 41% of our families are struggling to put food on the table.
Vice President J.D. Vance was pressed on why layoffs are necessary, given that previous administrations only furloughed workers, a temporary move.
What we're saying is that we might have to take extraordinary steps, especially the longer this goes on.
The White House is also targeting Democratic states with a wave of cuts to federal projects. The cuts will impact 16 states, including $18 billion for infrastructure projects in New York and nearly $8 billion for energy programs. At the core of the government shutdown fight is a demand from Democrats who refuse to support a spending bill unless it includes a reversal of cuts to Medicaid and an extension of Obamacare subsidies to prevent millions of Americans' health care premiums from going up.
It is not radical to say we want to prevent the average American family from getting these huge increases.
Vice President Vance says the administration is open to negotiating health care premiums, but only after the government reopens.
You can't reward this exercise in hostage taking, which is what we would be doing if we allowed the government opening to be conditional on the Democrats' policy disagreements.
Senate Majority Leader John Thune says Democrats are getting cold feet.
I think there are a lot of rank and file Democrats, Sean, who are regretting letting Schumer walk them down into this rat hole.
The economic impact of the shutdown also a concern. New data shows the economy lost a worse than expected 32,000 jobs in the private sector last month.
Nicole D'Antonio, thank you. And nearly 750,000 federal workers are being impacted by the shutdown, but it's also impacting the people who depend on those government-funded programs. Here's some of what they're saying.
A lot of staff live paycheck to paycheck. So grocery stores don't take IOUs, babysitters don't take IOUs, and you can't put, hopes and dreams in your gas tank to get you to and from work.
It builds on the stress level that officers have to endure, the financial issues and burdens that they have to deal with.
We need the government to stay open so that we don't have to live off our credit cards, that we don't have to take multiple loans just to pay our mortgage.
Those of us that have been through this before, we're angry at being used as pawns in a political game, because that's all it is.
It is absolutely going to affect wildland and firefighters across the country. They will be working without getting a paycheck. Can you imagine, you're going to go fight a wildfire and you know that you're protecting the communities and you're protecting the public, and you're not getting paid for it.
Food is high, electric bills and gas bill, all of these things went up, so I'm already juggling paycheck to paycheck.
You may not be able to make rent.
Right.
And top Trump administration officials are rallying federal agents and troops in Memphis. Defense Secretary Hegseth and Attorney General Bondi are there to oversee President Trump's crackdown on crime. The move comes after the president said the U.S. military should use American cities as training grounds. Meanwhile, anti-ICE protests are erupting across the country in cities like Chicago, Portland, Los Angeles, and New York. ABC Justice and Homeland Security reporter Luke Barr has the details. Luke, what's the latest on these planned deployments to Portland and Memphis?
Well, Diane, in Portland, you're seeing the governor and you're seeing the mayor there say, we don't need troops to protect the ICE facility there. But in Memphis, what you're seeing is an embrace of the National Guard. The governor, Bill Lee, has been supportive of these deployments. Unclear when they'll start. But yesterday you saw the Attorney General, you saw Secretary Hegseth, you saw Stephen Miller go to Memphis and said, we have your back. That was the message that they gave troops. They gave law enforcement there in Memphis on the ground. And the Attorney General had just posted an update from Memphis. They say they've arrested in 72 hours 93 people. They seized 28 guns illegally off the street. So they're touting this as something that's going to make Memphis safer, and it's something that they also say is going to make Portland safer in the long run, Diane.
Luke, what's the administration saying about these protests?
Well, the administration is cracking down on these protests. The Attorney General just this week put out an ICE protection task force. They're deploying the U.S. Marshals, DEA, all the Justice Department law enforcement agencies to protect these ICE facilities in Portland and in Chicago, just outside Chicago, Broadview, Illinois. And it all comes sort of after the shooting at the ICE facility in Dallas. She's prioritizing, the safety of these facilities, of these officers. She said, quote, she's directing immediately all necessary officers and agents to defend ICE facilities and personnel whenever and wherever they come under attack. That's from her memo that she released earlier this week. So they're definitely taking an approach that they're not going to take a lot from the protesters there, but it all remains to be seen how it all works out, Diane.
All right, Luke Barr, thank you. And the first American Pope is making rare comments about American politics. Pope Leo appears to be taking on the White House on several hot-button issues, including what it means to be pro-life, the death penalty, and immigration. And now the White House is responding. ABC's Victor Oquendo has that story.
Pope Leo and the White House engaging in a thinly veiled battle over what it means to be pro-life. Leo, in rare political comments, bringing up the issues of abortion and the death penalty.
Someone who says I'm against abortion but says I'm in favor of the death penalty is not really pro-life.
The Pope made the comments after he was asked about a Chicago Cardinal awarding Illinois Senator Dick Durbin a Lifetime Achievement Award, even though Durbin is a defender of abortion rights, something the church opposes. In defending the award, Pope Leo urged Catholics not to judge political figures on a single issue. In making his point, he then took aim at U.S. immigration policy.
Someone who says that I'm against abortion, but I'm in agreement with the inhuman treatment of immigrants from the United States, I don't know if that's pro-life.
The Pope not mentioning President Trump or the administration by name, but White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt responded, saying this.
This administration is trying to enforce our nation's laws in the most humane way possible.
Earlier this year, the Trump administration sparred with Leo's predecessor, Pope Francis, after Francis sent a letter to American bishops saying the act of deporting people damages the dignity of many men and women and of entire families. Reporters are Tom Hogan responding.
He's got a wall around protecting, does he not? So he's got a wall around protect his people and himself. We can't have a wall around the United States.
Pope Leo also addressing Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth's speech this week to U.S. military commanders. The Pope saying this way of speaking is worrying because it shows each time an increase in tensions. This vocabulary even shifting from Minister of Defense to Minister of War. Let's hope it is only a way of speaking.
Victor Oquendo, thank you. And a death certificate is revealing the cause of death for a teen found in singer David's car is still undetermined. A death certificate obtained by ABC News lists 15-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez's cause of death as deferred, and police say the medical examiner has also not yet determined her manner of death. But law enforcement sources say they are diligently investigating how she ended up in the trunk of David's Tesla and will rely heavily on the pending toxicology report. ABC's legal contributor Brian Buckmeyer has the latest. Brian, LAPD says its robbery homicide division has been diligently investigating, but this has been weeks now. How long does it usually take to gather and release information on just cause of death?
Well, I will say, Diane, that even though the robbery homicide unit is investigating this case, it is still being investigated as a death investigation and not a homicide one. To answer your question more directly, though, it could be anything. It could be from a matter of days to a matter of years. It all depends on the information that is provided, as well as how long that body has been there when law enforcement found it. We do know from reports that the body was there for weeks, and so this could take time. The body was released to the family, so it seems there's not much more to do to the investigation, but to wait for that toxicology report, as you pointed out.
The death certificate notes that she was not and had not been pregnant in the last year. Do you think that helps investigators here at all?
I think it helps in the sense of trying to provide a motivation as to the murders. Of course, that's not what proves a murder. Motive is often not an element that's needed when it comes to proving the case. Ultimately, this doesn't go to trial, but it does help the investigation in terms of moving forward. If she was pregnant, for example, in the past year, or if there's able to find that she was pregnant more recent to her death, that could have provided a potential suspect based on who might have gotten her pregnant.
That helps them rule that out, at least in terms of search for motive. And Brian, people online are now pointing out a similarity between where Celeste was found and David's One More Dance music video. And in the video, it depicts him dragging and stuffing a body into the trunk of a car. He also performed with a casket on stage during his recent tour, and that abruptly ended after this news broke. Could these creative choices end up involved in the police investigation or a potential trial if it ever comes to that?
So at this point, I'm going to say possibly. And the reason why I say possibly is if there are some similarities by the way in which the body was disposed of, we know that in that music video, he's depicted of, I believe, driving himself towards a car. Two individuals, as we're seeing here, are placing individual depicted as himself inside the car. That, of course, is very similar to how Celeste's body was found in a car registered to his Tesla. But if that's where the similarities end, I don't think that this music video, or even some of the music like Romantic Homicide, would come into the case. If there are similarities to show either a lack of mistake or some kind of intent, then that could be used against him. But I would imagine the defense attorney had a very strong First Amendment artistic expression defense that would negate that argument from a prosecutor if we got there.
All right, Brian Buckmeyer, thank you. And R&B legend Neo is opening up